Welcome everybody. In today's video, we're going to take a look at these 14 extremely boring muscle cars people still collect today, but shouldn't. Number 14, 1975 Buick Grand Sport, a poor copy of the GSX. The success of the GSX spurred Buick to make one more muscle car, and so they made the Buick Grand Sport. Sadly, the car was too heavy, and the design was not aerodynamic at all. Despite a 175 horsepower engine, the Grand Sport refused to speed up, which was pretty non-muscle car behavior and sent the sales on a downward spiral. 1982 Dodge Challenger, a rebadged passenger car. When we think of a Dodge Challenger, we think of a car screaming down a road, leaving burnt rubber behind. What we don't think of is a rebadged Mitsubishi Galant coupe with Dodge Challenger branding and an engine that could make only 100 horsepower. When they retired the Challenger in 1983, it was a relief. (1976 to 77) Dodge Charger Daytona, rebadged luxury sedan.
The new Dodge Charger. Once you've looked, you're hooked.
Introducing the 76 Dodge Charger Daytona.
The Dodge Charger Daytona, in its original 60s avatar, was a NASCAR competition killer. Since it was some 19 feet long, this was not what you would call a daily driver. However, one could overlook that huge size and still be in love with the car, unless you ended up buying the late 70s model, which was nothing but a rebadged Chrysler Cordoba that did not impress or deceive anyone. Number 11, 1980 Ford Mustang, more economy, less muscle. The USP of the 1980 Ford Mustang was its low price, and the fact that people could get a Mustang for cheap. The fact that its lackluster 2.3-liter engine could make just 88 measly horses was something marketing tried to skip over, but this was one of the worst Mustangs ever that looked boring and accelerated even worse. 1978 Oldsmobile 442, not like a GTO. When Pontiac launched GTO, Oldsmobile wanted a share of the muscle car mania as well, and launched the 442. The name of the car came from the 4-barrel carburetor, 4-speed transmission, and dual exhausts. Initially, a good car. By 1978, the aeroback body style and the 145 horsepower 5-liter engine made it a dull and rather expensive ride. 1976 to 1980 Plymouth Volare Roadrunner, the rusty ride. The Plymouth Roadrunner was an iconic, stripped-down muscle car that couldn't have been made better had they tried. But when they revived the Roadrunner nameplate as a trim for the rust bucket they called the Plymouth Volare, it made for some dark days in the muscle car world. (1993) Pontiac Firebird. Better, but not quite. While the Pontiac Firebird debuted its fourth generation in 1993 with a new and aerodynamic shape, it wasn't till mid-1995 that the engines began to get more powerful and match the muscle car image the car was trying to get back. It was better than the third-generation Firebird of 1992, but 1995 models were better than this because of more powerful engines. So this wasn't bad, just mediocre. (1981) Mercury Capri RS Turbo. Looked powerful but wasn't. The 1980 Ford Mustang made just 88 horsepower. In comparison, the Mercury Capri RS Turbo did make 117 horses on a turbocharged 2.3-liter 4-cylinder engine. But while it looked far more capable than the Stang, appearances can be deceiving. The bulging hood and sides gave it a sinister look, but it was as meek as a lamb. 1974 till 1978 Ford Mustang II Ghia. underpowered and cheap luxury. The second generation of the Ford Mustang came 10 years after the launch of the first. As much as the first generation delighted, the second generation disappoints. But consumers were at the mercy of gas control as well as strict emission laws, so they took whatever they could get. The Mustang II was cheap and ran cheap, and the Ghia trim gave it luxurious accents, so it sold like hotcakes. (1978) AMC Gremlin GT. Just too ugly. The AMC Gremlin was so ugly it was considered cute, and so it sold in droves for a little while. Then people realized that ugly is ugly, and thanks to the lackluster 120 horsepower engine, the cuteness of the Gremlin soon faded away. By 1978, sales flagged to an all-time low, and AMC killed off this model in favor of the Spirit. 1980 Pontiac Trans Am Turbo. Plagued with problems. The 1973 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am made a cool 290 horses, which dropped to 210 by 1980. Other than the power going down, the Trans Am Turbo, which used a turbocharge to power up the engine to respectable numbers, was still at its nascent stage and prone to many teething troubles. There were so many reliability issues that Pontiac took the turbo off its roster by 1981. (1984) Mercury Cougar XR7. A bit too tame. Despite a very titillating advertisement, the Mercury Cougar lacked muscle car styling and gave out 145 horses on a turbocharged four-cylinder engine. While 145 horses were respectable, it was still a long way off from making the Mercury Cougar a powerful muscle car, though it did emerge a leader in restoring some of the lost muscle car glory that the 70s had eaten away. 1982 Chevrolet Camaro. Chevy's shame. How bad can a Camaro get in the 80s? With an Iron Duke engine, a four-cylinder 2.5-liter mill, this particular Camaro only gave out 90 horses. Owning this aggressive-looking muscle car must have felt like being charged money to feel disappointed every day. 1976 Chevrolet Monza. A good car with a bad engine. The Monza looked like a decent muscle car, though it was based on the capricious Chevrolet Vega. That said, it was supposed to come in with a rotary engine from Mazda, but could carry only a very weak V8, an equally lackluster V6, and sadly, the atrocious Iron Duke four-cylinder 90 horsepower engine. This was a cheap muscle car that drove cheap as well, and pulled down Chevy's image even further.